I am now recording, and thank you. I'm glad you're here for vaginal talk. So am I. Okay. Alright, yes, so I am now recording, and we are going to now probably finish the rest of this book. And it's just vagina talk. Maybe I won't finish all of it because there are some, other stuff. I don't know if this is part of the monologues or not, but there's, some extra, stuff about, what V-Day is, and, that's after, I think, all the monologues are done. So I may read that too, or maybe I may read that in another session. Just because with everything going on right now, I feel like I should honor the whole book for what it is. So I'm going to do that. So yeah, I think I just might read the rest of the monologues, and then another day I'll I'll read the thing. God, it's hot. Okay, so now we are back on the topics of the vagina. And the next eggshell, the next conch shell says, I have been traveling with this piece all over America and now the world for years. I am threatening to create a vagina-friendly map of all the vagina-friendly cities I have visited. There are many now. There have been many surprises. Oklahoma City surprised me. They were wild for vaginas in Oklahoma City. Pittsburgh surprised me. They loved vaginas in Pittsburgh. I have already been there 3 times. Wherever I go, women come up to me after the show to tell me their stories, to make suggestions, to communicate their responses. This is my favorite part of traveling with the work. I get to hear the truly amazing stories. They are told so simply, so matter-of-factly. I am always reminded how extraordinary women's lives are and how profound. And I am reminded how isolated women are and how oppressed they often become in their isolation. How few people they have ever told of their suffering and confusion. How much shame there is surrounding all this. How crucial it is for women to tell their stories, to share them with other people. How our survival as women depends on this dialogue. It was after performing this piece one night in New York City that I heard the story of a young Vietnamese woman who when she was 5 years old, recently arrived in America and able to speak English, fell on a fire hydrant while playing with her best friend and cut her vagina. Unable to communicate what had occurred, she simply hid her bloodied underpants under her bed. Hold on. Okay. Yeah, unable to communicate what had occurred, she simply hid her bloodied underpants under her bed. Her mother found them and assumed she'd been raped. As the young girl did not know the word for fire hydrant, she could not explain to her parents what really happened. Her parents accused her best friend's brother of raping her. They rushed the young girl to the hospital, and the whole group of men stood around her bed, staring at her open, exposed vagina. Then, on the way home, she realized her father was no longer looking at her. In his eyes, she had become a used, finished woman. He never really looked at her again. Or the story of a stunning young woman in Oklahoma who approached me after the show with her stepmother to tell me how she had been born without a vagina and only realized it when she was 14. She was playing with her girlfriend. They compared their genitals and she realized hers were different. Something was wrong. She went to the gynecologist with her father, the parent she was close to, and the doctor discovered that, in fact, she did not have a vagina or a uterus. Her father was heartbroken, trying to repress his tears and sadness so his daughter would not feel bad. On the way home from the doctor, in a noble attempt to comfort her, he said, "Don't worry, darling. This is all gonna be just fine. As a matter of fact, it's gonna be great. We're gonna get you the best homemade pussy in America. And when you meet your husband, he's gonna know we had it made especially for him." And they did get her a new pussy, and she was relaxed and happy. And when she brought her father back 2 nights later, the love between them melted me. Then there was the night in Pittsburgh when a woman filled with passion rushed up to tell me she had to speak to me as soon as possible. Her intensity convinced me, and I called her as soon as I got back to New York. She said she was a massage therapist, and she had to talk to me about the texture of the vagina. The texture was crucial. I hadn't gotten the texture, she said. And she talked to me for an hour with such detail, with such sensuous clarity, that when she was finished, I had to lie down. During that conversation, she also talked to me about the word cunt. I had said something negative about it in my performance, and she said I didn't understand the word at all. She needed to help me reconceive it. She talked to me for a half hour more about the word cunt, and when she was finished, I was a convert. I wrote this for her. Yeah. Let me say that again. I feel like I didn't say that right. Yeah, she talked to me for a half hour more about the word cunt. And when she was finished, I was a convert. Yeah, I was a convert. I wrote this for her. And then the next page, it does not have a conch shell. Yeah, oh, convert. Convert. I was a convert. There we go. Yeah, that's what I was trying to say, people. Convert. Yeah, when she was finished, I was a convert. I wrote this for her. Alright. And then the next, thank you, Chandler. And then the next, yay. The next page does not have a conch shell, but it has a header saying, "Reclaiming cunt." I called it cunt. I've reclaimed it. Cunt. I really like it. Cunt. Listen to it. Cunt. Ca, ca, cavern, cackle, clit, cute, come, closed, closed, inside, inside, cut, then, you, then, cut, then, curvy, inviting yeah, then curvy, inviting shark skin, uniform, under, up, urge, ah, ah, you, then, then, kun, snug letters fitting perfectly together, nest, now, nexus, nice, nice, always depth, always round and uppercase, kun, a jagged, wicked electrical pulse, high-pitched noise, then soft, warm, kun, then sharp, certain tangy tea, texture, take, tent, tight, tantalizing, tensing, taste, tendrils, time, tactile, tell me, cunt, say it, tell me, cunt. And that is the end of that one. And then there's not another conch shell, but there is another monologue. And the header is called, I asked a 6-year-old girl, if your vagina got dressed, what would it wear? Red high tops and a Mets hat worn backward. If it could speak, what would it say? It would say words that begin with V and T, turtle, and violins are examples. What does your vagina remind you of? A pretty dark peach, or a diamond I found from a treasure and it's mine. What's special about your vagina? Somewhere deep inside, I know it has to be really... Somewhere deep inside, I know it has a really, really smart brain. What does your vagina smell like? Snowflakes. That is the end of that monologue. And here we go to the next. Which is called... the header is called The Woman Who Loved to Make Vaginas Happy. I love vaginas. I love women. I do not see them as separate things. Women pay me to dominate them, to excite them, to make them come. I did not start out like this. No, to the contrary, I started out as a lawyer. But in my late 30s, I became obsessed with making women happy. There were so many unfulfilled women, so many women who had no access to their sexual happiness. It began as a mission of sorts, but then I got involved in it. I got very good at it. Kind of brilliant. It was my art. I started getting paid for it. It was as if I had found my calling. Tax law seemed completely boring and insignificant then. I wore outrageous outfits when I dominated women. Lace and silk and leather. And I used props, whips, handcuffs, rope, dildos. There was nothing like this in tax law. There were no props, no excitement. And I hated those blue corporate suits, although I wear them now from time to time in my new line of work, and they serve quite nicely. Context is all. There were no props, no outfits in corporate law. There was no wetness. There was no dark, mysterious foreplay. There was no erect nipples. There were no delicious mouths. But mainly, there was no moaning. Not the kind I'm talking about anyway. This was the key I see now. Moaning is the thing that ultimately seduced me and got me addicted to making women happy. When I was a little girl and I would see women in the movies making love, making strange orgasmic moaning noises, I used to laugh. I got strangely hysterical. I couldn't believe that big, outrageous, ungoverned sounds like that just came out of women. I longed to moan. I practiced in front of my mirror, on a tape recorder, moaning in various keys, various tones, with sometimes very operatic expressions, sometimes with more reserved, almost withheld expression. But always when I played it back, it sounded fake. It was fake. It wasn't rooted in anything sexual, really, only in my desire to be sexual. But then, when I was 10, I had to pee really badly. On a car trip, on a car trip, it went on for almost an hour. And when I finally got to pee in this dirty little gas station, it was so exciting. I moaned. I moaned as I peed. I couldn't believe it. Me, moaning in a Texaco station somewhere in the middle of Louisiana. I realized right then that moans are connected with not getting what you want right away, with putting putting things off. I realized moans were best when they caught you by surprise. They came out of this hidden, mysterious part of you that was speaking its own language. I realized that moans were, in fact, that language. I became a moaner. It made most men anxious. Frankly, it terrified them. I was loud and they couldn't concentrate on what they were doing. They'd lose focus. Then they'd lose everything. We couldn't make love in people's homes. The walls were too thin. I got a reputation in my building, and people stared at me with contempt in the elevator. Men thought I was too intense. Some called me insane. I began to feel bad about moaning. I got quiet and polite. I made noise into a pillow. I learned to choke my moan, hold it back like a sneeze. I began to get headaches and stress-related disorders. I was becoming hopeless when I discovered women. I discovered I discovered that most women loved my moaning. But more important, I discovered how deeply excited I got when other women moaned. When I could make other women moan, it became kind of a passion. Discovering the key, unlocking the vagina's mouth, unlocking this voice, this wild song. Excuse me. I made love to quiet women, and I found this place inside them, and they shocked themselves in their moaning. I made love to moaners, and they found a deeper. Excuse me. And I made love to moaners, and they found a deeper, more penetrating moan. I became obsessed. I longed to make women moan, to be in charge, like a conductor, maybe, or a band leader. It was kind of surgery. Yeah, it was a kind of surgery, a kind of delicate science. Finding the tempo, the exact location or home of the moan. That's what I called it. Sometimes I found it over a woman's jeans. Sometimes I sneaked upon it, off the record, quietly disarming the surrounding alarms. Yes, quietly disarming the surrounding alarms and moving in. Sometimes I used force, but not violent, oppressing force, more like dominating. I'm gonna take you someplace. Don't worry. Lie back. Enjoy the ride. Kind of force. Sometimes it was simply mundane. I found the moment before things even started, while we were eating salad or chicken, just casually right there, with my fingers. Here it, Here it is like that. Real simple, in the kitchen. All mixed in with the balsamic vinegar. Sometimes I used props. I loved props. Sometimes I made a woman find her own moan in front of me. I waited. stuck it out while she opened herself. I wasn't fooled by the minor, more obvious moans. No, I pushed her further, all the way into her powerful, all the way into her powerful moan. There's the clit moan, a soft in the mouth moan, a vaginal moan, a deep in the throat moan, uh, no, deep, a deep in the throat sound, the combo clit vaginal moan. There's a pre moan, a hint of sound, and the the almost moan, a circling sound, the right on it moan, a deeper, definite sound, the elegant moan, a sophisticated laughing sound, the grace slick moan, a rock singing sound, the wasp moan, no sound, the semi religious moan, a Muslim chanting sound, the mountaintop moan, a yodeling sound, a baby moan, a googie googie goo, a googie googie goo goo sound, a donkey moan, a panting sound, a southern moan, the southern moan, southern action, yeah, the uninhabitant militant bisexual moan, a deep aggressive pounding sound, the machine gun moan, the tortured zen moan, a twisted hungry sound, a diva moan, a high operatic note, the twisted toe orgasm moan, and finally the surprise triple orgasm moan. That is the end of that monologue. And now we are on to another conch shell. This conch shell says, after I finished this piece, I read it to the woman on whose interview I based it. She didn't feel it really had anything to do with her. She loved the piece, mind you, but she didn't see herself in it. She felt that I had somehow avoided talking about vaginas, that I was still somehow objectifying them. Even the moans were a way of objectifying the vagina, cutting it off from the rest of the vagina, the rest of the woman. There was a real difference in the way lesbians saw vaginas. I hadn't yet captured it, so I interviewed her again. And this is another conch shell, which I think is a combination of the interview, is like the interview. So some of the parts are italicized and some are not. So this one reads, as a lesbian, she said, I need you to start from a lesbian-centered place, not framed within a heterosexual context. I did not desire women, for example, because I disliked men. Men weren't even part of the equation. She said, you need to talk about entering into vaginas. You can't talk about lesbian sex without doing this. For example, she said, I'm having sex with a woman. She's inside me. I'm inside me. Fucking myself together with her. There are 4 fingers inside me. 2 are hers, 2 are mine. I don't know that I wanted to talk about sex, but then again, how can I talk about vaginas without talking about them in action? I am worried about the titillation factor, worried about the piece becoming exploitive. Am I talking about vaginas to arouse people? Is this a bad thing? And that's like that's Eve's probably thought process right now. And now back again to the italicized. As lesbians, she said, we know about vaginas. We touch them, we lick them, we play with them, we tease them, we notice when the clitoris swells, we notice our own. I realize I am embarrassed listening to her, There's a combination of reasons: excitement, fear, her love of vaginas and comfort with them, and my distancing terror of all saying this is in front of you, the audience. I like to play with the rim of the vagina, she said, with fingers, knuckles, toes, tongue. I like to enter it slowly, slowly entering, then thrusting 3 fingers inside. There's other cavities, other openings, there's the mouth. While I have a free hand, there's a finger in her mouth, fingers in her vagina, both going all at once. Her mouth sucking my fingers, her vagina sucking my fingers, both sucking, both wet. I realize I don't know what is appropriate. I don't even know what that word means. Who decides? I learned so much from what she's telling me about her and me, about her, about me. Then I come on my own witness, she said. She can enter me. I can experience my own witness. I let her slide her fingers into me, her fingers into my mouth, my vagina. The same. I pull her hand out of my cunt. I rub my witness against her knee so she knows. I slide my witness down her leg until my face is in between her thighs. Does talking about vaginas ruin the mystery, or is that just another myth that keeps vaginas in the dark, keeping them unknowing and unsatisfied? My tongue is on her clitoris. My tongue replaces my fingers. My mouth enters her vagina. Saying these words feels naughty, dangerous, too direct, too specific, wrong, intense, in charge, alive. My tongue is on her clitoris. My tongue replaces my fingers. My mouth enters her vagina. To love women, to love our vaginas, to know them and touch them and be familiar with who we are and what we need, to satisfy ourselves, to teach our lovers to satisfy us, to be present in our vaginas, to speak of them out loud, to speak of their hunger and pain and loneliness and humor, to make them visible so they cannot be ravaged in the dark without great consequence, so that our center, our point, our motor, our dream is no longer detached, mutilated, numb, broken, invisible, or ashamed. You have to talk about entering vaginas, she said. Come on, I say. Come in. And that is the end of that monologue. Alright, on to the next conch shell, which is it says, I had been performing this piece for over 2 years when suddenly it occurred to me that there were no pieces about birth. It was a bizarre omission, although when I told a journalist this recently, he asked me, "What's the connection?" What's the connection? Boy, you live under a rock? Almost 21 years ago, I adopted a son, Dylan. He was very close in age to me. Last year, he and his wife, Shiva, had a baby. They asked me to be present for the birth. I don't think, in all my investigation, that I really understood vaginas until this moment. If I was in awe in them before the birth of my granddaughter, Colette, I am certainly in deep worship now. And then the next page does not have a conch shell, but it does have a header. And it says, I was there in the room. Sorry, that was loud. Yeah, I was there in the room. For Shiva. I was there when her vagina opened. We were all there. Her mother, her husband, and I, and the nurse from the Ukraine with her. Yeah, and the nurse from the from the Ukraine with her whole hand, up there in her vagina, feeling and turning with her rubber glove as she slowly as she talked casually to us, like she was turning on a loaded faucet. I was there in the room when the contractions made her crawl on all fours, made unfamiliar moans leak out of her pores, and still there after hours when she just suddenly screamed, no, hold on. Yeah, and still there after hours when she just screamed suddenly, wild, her arms striking at the electric chair, at the electric chair, at the electric air. Yeah, wild with. Let me just read the whole thing again because I got really distracted. Like, uh, yeah, I was there in the room when the contractions made her crawl on all fours, made unfamiliar no, made unfamiliar moans leak out from her leak out of her pores, and still there after hours when she just screamed suddenly, wild, her arms striking at the electric air. I was there when her vagina changed from a shy sexual hole to an archaeological tunnel, a sacred vessel, a Venetian canal, a deep well with a tiny stuck child inside, waiting to be rescued. I saw the colors of her vagina. They changed. Saw the bruised, broken blue, the blistering tomato red, the gray pink, and the dark. Saw the saw the blood like perspiration along the edges. Saw the yellow, white liquid, the shit, the clots pushing out all the hole, the clots pushing out all the holes, pushing harder and harder. Saw through the hole, the baby's head, scratches of black hair. Saw it just there behind the bone, a, a hard, round memory, as the nurse from the Ukraine kept turning and turning her slippery hand. I was there when each of us, I was there when each of us, her mother and I, held a leg and spread her wide, pushing, with all our strength against her pushing, and her husband sternly counting, 1, 2, 3, telling her to focus, harder. We looked into her then. We couldn't get our eyes out of that place. We forget the vagina, all of us. What else would explain our lack of awe, our lack of wonder? I was there when the doctor reached in with Alice in Wonderland spoons, and and there as her vagina became a wide operatic mouth, singing with all its strength. First the little head, then the gray flopping arm, and then the fast swimming body, swimming quickly into our weeping arms. I was there later when I just turned and faced her vagina. I stood and let myself see her all spread, completely exposed, mutilated, swollen and torn, bleeding all over the doctor's hands. He was calmly sewing her there. I stood, and as I stared, her vagina suddenly became a wide, wet. Eh. Yeah, I stood, and as I started, oh God, Jesus, what is wrong with me? Yeah, I stood, and as I stared, her vagina suddenly became a wide, red, pulsing heart. The heart is capable of sacrifice. So is the vagina. The heart is able to forgive and repair. It can change its shape to let us in. It can expand to let us out. So can the vagina. It can ache for us and stretch for us, die for us and bleed us into this difficult, wondrous world. So can the vagina. I was there in the room. I remember. Okay, so now we go on to uh, the next conch shell, which has a header. This one is called Spotlight Monologues. Each of these monologues was written for a V-Day spotlight. Yeah, for a V-Day spotlight, or a situation in the world where women were totally at risk, where they had been raped or murdered or dismissed or simply not allowed to be. It is my hope that in the telling of these stories where women suffered, they will be healed, and seeing what erased them, they will be made forever visible, honored, protected. And the next thing doesn't have a conch shell, but it does have a header. And this is called The Memory of Her Face, for Esther, Islamabad, or Islamabad. Yeah, Islamabad. I'm probably screwing that up so much. No, I don't think I am. Yeah. The Memory of Her Face, for Esther, Islamabad. Okay, I gotta figure this shit out. Okay. No, I'm saying it right. Yeah. The Memory of Her Face, for Esther, Islamabad. They all knew something terrible was going to happen each time he had come. The things he used first time. He grabbed the closest thing. He grabbed a pot. He smashed her head. He smashed her right eye hard. The next time, he thought about it a little and paused, took off his belt. She had gashes inside her thighs. The third time, he needed to be more involved in hurting her. So he beat her with his fists. He broke her nose. They heard her screams. They heard her beg. They wouldn't intervene. She was his. Unwritten law. Don't ask what she had done. It was just her face that pissed him off. Just her needy face waiting for more. The last time he had enough of her, he planned it out. He got the acid in advance. He poured it in a jar. She said she needed money for food for them. She looked like that. Like that. Like that. Like that. Her face is gone. Totally melted off. Just eyes, that's all you see. That's all. Just eyes encased in gooey flesh. I tell you this because she's there inside this mess. Inside this monstrous mask. Inside the death of her esteem. Inside his wish to make her none. She's there, I swear. I heard her wheeze. I heard her sigh. I heard her babble something. With what was once her mouth, I heard her. I swear. She lives in there. And then, Juarez. Each woman is dark, particularly young. Each woman has brown eyes. Each woman is gone. There was one girl missing for 10 months. She was 17 when they took her away. She worked in the maquiladora. She stamped thousands of coupons of products she would never afford. $4 a day. They paid her and bussed her to the desert to sleep in freezing shit. It must have been on the way to the bus. They took her. It must have been dark outside. It must have lasted until morning. Whatever they did to her. It went on and on. You can tell from the others, who showed up without hands or nipples. It must have gone on and on. When she finally reappeared, she was bone. Bone, bone. No cute mole above her right eye. No naughty smile. No wavy black hair. Bone, she came back as bone. And she and the others. All beautiful. All beginning. All coupons. All faces. All gone. 300 faces gone. 300 noses. 300 chins. 300 dark penetrating eyes. 300 smiles. 300 mulatto cheeks. 300 hungry mouths. All about to speak. All about to tell. All about to scream. Gone now, bone. I tried to turn away when she lifted her chador in the restaurant. When they raised the plastic cloth that concealed the bone outline of her head in the morgue, I tried to turn away. Okay, so that's the first one, and now we have another one. And the header says, "Under the burqa," for Zoya. And in parentheses it says, "This piece is not about the burqa per se. Wearing one is obviously a matter of culture and choice. This piece is about a time and place where women had no choice." And parentheses. Imagine a huge dark piece of cloth hung over your entire body, like you were a shameful statue. Imagine there's only a drop of light, enough to know there is still daylight for others. Imagine it's hot, very hot. Imagine you are being cased in cloth, drowning in fabric, in darkness. Imagine you are begging in this bedspread, reaching out your hands inside the cloth, which must remain covered, unpolished, unseen, or they might smash it or cut it off. Imagine no one is putting rubies in your invisible hand, because no one can see your face, so you do not exist. Imagine you cannot find your children because they came for your husband, the only man you ever loved, even though it was an arranged marriage, because they came and shot him with a gun of his they could not find, and you tried to defend him and they trampled you. 4 men on your back, in front of your children, in front of your screaming children. Imagine you went mad, but how did you not know you were mad? Oh no, but yeah, imagine you went mad, but you did not know you were mad, because you were living under a bedspread, and you hadn't seen the sun in years, and you lost your way, and you remembered your 2 daughters vaguely, like a dream the way you remembered Sky imagining muttering. Like a dream the way you remembered Sky. Imagine muttering as a way of talking, because words did not form anymore in the darkness. And you did not cry because it got too hot and wet in there. Imagine bearded men that you could only decipher by their smell, checking your socks and beating you because they are white. Imagine being flogged in front of people you could not see. Imagine being humiliated so deeply that there was no face attached to it and no air. It got darker there. Imagine no peripheral vision, so like a wounded animal you could not defend yourself or even duck from the sideward blows. Imagine that laughter was banned throughout your country, and music and the only sounds you heard were the muffled sounds of the azan, or the cries of other women flogged inside their cloth, inside their dark. Imagine you can no longer distinguish between living or dying. So you stopped trying to kill yourself because it would be redundant. Imagine you had no place to live. Your roof was the cloth as you wandered the streets, and this tomb was getting smaller and smellier every day. You were beginning to walk into things. Imagine suffocating while you were still breathing. Imagine muttering and screaming inside a cage and no one is hearing. Imagine me inside the inside of the darkness in you. I am caught there. I am lost there, inside the cloth, which is your head. Inside the dark we share. Imagine you could see me. I was beautiful once. Big dark eyes. You would know me. Alright. And then that is the end of that monologue. And this monologue, the next monologue, doesn't have a conch shell, but it does have a header. This is called They Beat the Girl Out of My Body. Oh no. They beat the girl out of my boy, or so they tried. For Caprolina and Andrea. At 5 years old, I was putting my baby sister's diapers on. I saw her vagina. I wanted one. I wanted one. I thought it would grow. I thought it would be open. I ached to belong. I ached to smell like my mother. Her aroma lived in my hair, on my hands, in my skin. I ached to be pretty. Pretty. I wondered why I was missing my bathing suit top at the beach, why I wasn't dressed like the other girls. I ached to be completed. I ached to belong, to play the baton. They assigned me a sex the day I was born. It's as random as being adopted or being assigned a hotel room on the 30th floor. It has nothing to do with who you are or your fear of heights, but in spite of the apparatus, I was forced to carry around. I always knew I was a girl. They beat me for it. They beat me for crying. They pummeled me for wanting to touch, to pet, to hug, to help, to hold their hands. For trying to fly in church like Sister Bertrill. For doing cartwheels, crocheting socks, for carrying purses to kindergarten. They kicked the shit out of me every day on my way to school, in the park. They smashed my magic marker painted nails. They punched my lipstick mouth. They beat the girl out of my boy. Or they tried. So I went underground. I stopped playing the flute. Be a man. Stand up for yourself. Go punch him back. I grew a full beard. It was good. I was big. I joined the Marines. Suck it up and drive on. I became dueler. Jaded. Sometimes cruel. Butch it. Butch it. Butch it up. Always clenched, inaccurate, incomplete. I ran away from home, from school, from boot camp, ran to Miami, Greenwich Village, the Aleutian Islands, New Orleans. I found gay people, wilderness lesbians. I got my first hormone shot. I got permission to be myself, to transition, to travel, to immigrate. 350 hours of hot needles. I could count the male particles as they died. 16 man hairs gone. The feminine is in your face. I lift my eyebrows more. I'm curious. I ask questions. And my voice, practice voice. It's all about resonance. Sing song, sing song. Men are monotone and flat. Southern accents are really excellent. Jewish accents really help. Hello, my friend. And my vagina is so much friendlier. I cherish it. It brings me joy. The orgasms come in waves. Before they were jerky. I'm the girl next door. My lieutenant colonel father ended up paying for it. My vagina. My mother was worried what people would think of her. that she made this happen, until I came to church. And everyone said, "You have a beautiful daughter." I wanted to belong. I got to be soft. I'm allowed to listen. I am allowed to touch. I am able to receive. To be in the present tense. People are so much nicer to me now. I can wake up in the morning, put my hair in a ponytail. A wrong was righted. I am right with God. It's like when you're trying to sleep and there is a loud car alarm. When I got my vagina, it was like someone finally turned it off. I live now in the female zone. But you know how people feel about immigrants? They don't like it when you come from someplace else. They don't like it when you mix. They killed my boyfriend. They beat him up insanely as he slept with a baseball bat. They beat this girl out of his head. They didn't want him dating a foreigner, even though she was pretty and she listened and was kind. They didn't want him falling in love with ambiguity. They were terrified of that love. And in parentheses, it says, this piece was based on interviews with trans women from all over America. Oh, and also another thing. If you call yourself a TERF, which stands for Trans Exclusionary Radical Feminist, let me tell you something. You're not a feminist. No. Yeah, fuck TERFs. Hell no. Trans women are women. Trans men are men. What they have going on down there or up there is none of your fucking business. None of it. Trans people exist and you gotta fucking deal with it. You just gotta fucking deal with it. And if you don't, well, I'm sorry that you're stupid. Trans lives matter. Okay. But then, yeah, that was the end of that monologue. And now there's another monologue. Okay, yeah. Sorry, I was just like looking ahead. Alright, but yes. This next one, it does not have a conch shell, but it has a header. And it says, crooked braid. For the women from the Oglala. Okay, yeah, for the women from the Oglala Lakota Nation. 1. He wanted to go out. He said to me, "You stay home." I said, "I wanted to go out." He said, "You have a baby." I said, "It's our baby." I laid the baby down. He probably felt my tension because he was whimpering. The baby. I looked up, and he slapped me, my husband. Not a blast that knocks your blue eye. Not a blast that knocks your eyes blue. That came later. It was a smack. A hard, domestic smack. He looked at me. He was smiling. I couldn't believe it. He was smiling. He slapped me again. His dad was vicious to his mother. I saw him smile. What was that? He was the nicest person. He had long black hair. When we made love, it got loose. 4. 2. He took me to the dinner, made me go out with his boss. I didn't want to go. He kicked me under the table, told me to look happy, told me to smile. I smiled. He kicked me again, asked me who I was trying to fuck, told me to stop coming on to everyone. I stopped smiling. He kicked me again. This went on and on. Outside the restaurant, he grabbed my hair and pulled me down to the curb. It had been snowing. He buried me in snow, pounded me in the gutter. The snow was melting. It was sloppy. My hair felt like it was bleeding. 3. He was drinking. I was too. I must have blacked out. I woke up in the hospital after 5 brain surgeries. My hair was gone. They shaved it all off. I had to relearn to talk, to move my arm. I had to relearn to talk, to move my arms. I had to relearn to talk and move my arms. It took me 4 months to remember how to cook breakfast. I remember putting the egg in the frying pan with the bacon. I knew the egg felt right. I just didn't remember to crack it open. Just the egg in the frying pan in its shell. My head was bald. 4. 18 years. He beat me in the morning. When he was so nice again, I would braid his long hair. I would take my time like I cared so much, and I would do it perfectly crooked. I would make the hairs so they would stand up all crazy like. Then he'd go forgetting that the bruises on my face were his handprints. He'd walk all cocky in the street, all macho on the road, but his braid would be crooked and look so stupid and wrong. This shouldn't have made me that happy. It really just shouldn't have made me that happy. 5. Heard that he was out with a woman, making love, and she was fluffing his hair when he was wild on top of her. He came home much later, and his hair was braided up all right and tight. He passed out from drinking. Then I got up with scissors as he snored, and slowly walked to him and just cut the braid off, completely off, and put it in his hand, so that when he woke up, he screamed, "What the fuck? I am going to kill you." And he jumped up, but I had tied his shoes together so he couldn't run. I didn't go back to him for 3 years until I knew his hair had grown out again. 6. I didn't want to have sex with him. He was drunk. I was just a piece of meat to him, a hole. I tried to pretend I was asleep. He elbowed me, jerked me, pulled me up. I remember thinking, just get it over with. He was soft and kept pumping and pumping until I got sore. I said, "It didn't feel good." He said, "Who were you with? Was he bigger than me? Did you like it? You're like a mouse with a lion. You have to move fast. You have to move fast to the door." You're like a lion with a mouse. You're like a mouse with a lion. You have to move fast to the door. He picked me up like I was a rag. His eyes were numb. I could hear my son screaming. His mouth was open and his tonsils, I could see his tonsils. My husband beat the shit out of me. He wrapped my long black hair around his hand, jerked my head. I tried to get my son. "That's not your son," he said, holding my hair in his hand. "That's not your son anymore." Now, he calls me in the middle of the night, weeping. He didn't mean to beat his wife. He didn't mean to batter her. He's suicidal. He knows what his mother went through, but he can't stop. My son. They took our land. They took our ways. They took our men. We want them back. And in parentheses, Um, it says, this piece was based on interviews with Native women and on the Pine Ridge Reservation. And the next, I think this is the last one. Yeah, this is the last one until it gets the big. Okay, yeah. This is the last monologue until it gets to, like, information-wise. And I'll do the information another time. I don't want to do it today. I mean, I could do it today, but it's going to take a lot longer because it's a lot more pages in here. So, yeah. So, this last monologue is called, it doesn't have a conch shell, but it says, say it, for the comfort women. Our stories only exist inside our heads, inside our ravaged bodies, inside a time and space of war and emptiness. There is no paper trail, nothing official on the books, only conscience, only this, what we were promised, that I would save my father if I went with them, that I would find a job, that I would serve the country, that they would kill me if I didn't go, that it was better there. What we found? No mountains, no trees, no water, yellow sand, a desert, a warehouse full of tears, thousands of worried girls, my braid cut against my will, no time to wear panties. What we were forced to do? Change our names, wear one-piece dresses with a button that opened easily, 50 Japanese soldiers a day. And sometimes there would be a ship of them. Strange, barbaric things. Do it even when we bleed. Do it young before we started bleeding. Yeah, do it young before we started bleeding. There were so many. Some couldn't take off their clothes. Just took out their penis. So many men, I couldn't walk. I couldn't stretch my legs. I couldn't bend. I couldn't. What they did to us over and over. Cursed, spanked, twisted, tore bloody inside out, sterilized, drugged, slapped, punched. What we saw? A girl drinking chemicals in the bathroom. A girl killed by a bomb. A girl beaten with a rifle over and over. A girl running headfirst into a wall. A girl's malnourished body dumped in the river to drown. What we were allowed to do? Yeah, what we weren't allowed to do. Wash ourselves. Move around. Go to the doctor. Use a condom. Run away. Keep my baby. Ask him to stop. What we caught. Malaria, syphilis, gonorrhea, stillbirths, tuberculosis, heart disease, nervous breakdowns, hypochondria. What we were fed. Rice, miso soup, turnip pickle, rice, miso soup, turnip pickle, rice, rice, rice. What we became. Good night. Yeah, what we became. Ruined, tools, infertile, holes, bloody, meat, exiled, silenced, alone. What we were left with. Nothing. A shocked father who never recovered and died. No wages, scars, hatred of men, no children, no house. A space where a uterus once was. Booze, smoking, guilt, shame. What we got called. Ianfu, comfort women. Shugyofu, women of indecent occupation. What we felt. My chest still trembles. What got taken. The springtime. My life. What we are. 74. 79, 83, 93, blind, slow, ready, outside the Japanese embassy every Wednesday, no longer afraid. What we want, now, soon, before we're gone, and our stories leave this world. Leave our heads, Japanese government. Say it, please. We are sorry, comfort women. Say it to me. We are sorry to me. We are sorry to me. To me. To me. To me. Say it. Say sorry. Say we are sorry. Say me. See me. Say it. Sorry. In parentheses it says, this piece was based on the testimonies of the comfort women. And that is the end of official Vagina Monologues. But I will return with in the back there's like information about V-Day and what it's all about and how it's changed the world throughout the years, sort of thing. So yeah, I'll read that, but just a different time, because that part is actually gonna take a bit of time to read. But yes, that is the end of the monologues. I wish there was more. Maybe there's a more updated version of this. I'm not sure though. Though I haven't checked. Ugh. Thank you so much for listening. I will see you in the next one. Oh wow, this was only an hour. Nice. Yes. Cool. Alright, so thank you. Bye-bye.